Hello stunning friends, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Rachel and welcome to my April wrap up. So in the month of April, I was able to read 8 books. That is probably my lowest amount of books read in a month in a while, but that's still great. I had such an amazing reading month, so even though I read a little bit less than normal, I really made up for it for how many fantastic books I read in April. And I was also on vacation. I went to France in the month of April for a couple weeks, so I just wasn't really reading as much, but regardless, whether you read 1 book or 20 books a month, it does not matter. I had such a great reading month and I'm really excited to talk about all of these books. So let's get straight into it. These are the 8 books that I read in April and what I thought of them. All right, so the very first book that I ended up reading in the month of April was Heat of the Everflame by Penn Cole. This is the 3rd book in the Kindred's Curse saga, which is a stunning, gorgeous, perfect fantasy romance series that I am super in love with. This is the latest installment and the finale of this series does come out on June 1st. That is going to be Burn of the Everflame. I cannot wait for it. I think about it every single day. This was another really amazing installment in this series. We got a ton of incredible world building in this book. Also, the romance just turned up a notch in a way that was very, very fun. And this is a very, very slow burn fantasy romance. We definitely saw the romance develop quite a bit, which was just so satisfying. And I really just enjoyed our characters, the journey that they went on. I ended up crying while reading this book, didn't expect that. And overall, this was just a very good read and it just solidifies how much I absolutely love this series. I did end up giving this book a 4-star. It's honestly more like a 4.5 star, but I just rated it a 4-star on Goodreads. And the reason why it's not a 5-star read for me is just because our main character DM, there was some like decision making or like lack thereof, kind of poor decision making that was happening that I was finding a little bit frustrating. I do find throughout the series that DM does tend to do that. Some of the decisions that she makes, I just don't understand, or she'll end up like taking the most difficult path when I feel like a very obvious answer is right in front of her. But I still love her. She has a ton of great qualities. But in this book, I don't know, I just felt her grating on me a little bit more than she did in the first 2 books. Glow of the Everflame, which is the 2nd book, is still my favorite in the series. That is a perfect book. Oh my god. But this was still very, very good. I really enjoyed it. And overall, the series is absolutely fantastic and I cannot recommend it enough. The next book that I read in the month of April is How Does It Feel by Janine O'Reilly. So this is a fantasy romance following our female main character who is an environmental biologist. She's out one day in the forest, ends up falling through a fairy portal, and becomes the captive of a wicked high fae prince. He thinks that the humans have sent her as an assassin. She had no idea that magic existed, so she's trying to grapple with her new reality and also just survive. This fae prince also puts her through trials to entertain his court, and they sort of have this like hate to love romance. I think the idea and setup of this book was very fun. I was really intrigued, but I ended up not really enjoying this book, and I think that is just particularly because I didn't really connect with the dialogue, and I also just feel like a lot of things that happened in this book were very over the top, very dramatic, very silly at times, and I just didn't really connect with the story. I didn't feel too much for the characters, and really just that over the topness didn't really work for me. I will say though, like I was entertained because this story is just crazy and things are all over the place. So while I did find it entertaining, it's just not a book for me. I don't think that the writing style, the characterization, the romance, just nothing really clicked. The plot twist at the end of this book was really crazy though, and that was fun to have that unveiled. But overall, this was a 2-star book for me. Didn't really connect with the writing, characters, romance, and things just got way too wild and way over the top and unrealistic for me. The next book that I read in the month of April was Lady of Ashes by Melissa K. Rorick. This is the 3rd book in the Lady of Darkness series, which is a fantasy romance series that I am thoroughly enjoying. This book was a 4-star for me once again. So the first book, Lady of Darkness, I gave 3 stars. It's okay. It's a decent start. It's not amazing, but as the series has gone on, I've just really fallen in love with these characters and the series. So book 2 I gave 4 stars, and then also Lady of Ashes. The beginning of this book was very difficult. Our main character was going through something very terrible. I felt very hopeless, but I really enjoyed the journey that our characters went on. I love the multi-POV. I love getting to know all of the side characters a little bit more. We had a lot of reveals happen, but then of course we had so many more questions pop up. I'm so excited to continue on with the series. I want to finish it soon. I only have 2 more books left, which is Lady of Embers and Lady of Starfire. I think this is a really, really solid series. It has been so much fun to read, and I love this huge cast of characters. I love how dynamic it makes the story, and Lady of Ashes was a very good installment. All right, the next 2 books that I read in April I am going to talk about together because they are a part of a series, and that is Binding 13 and Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh. I actually finished Keeping 13 last night, and oh my god, it is still raw, you guys. Like, I am still feeling very emotional, feels very fresh. This book was so intense. I mean, Binding 13 was too, but I remember telling everyone, oh my god, Binding 13 was like so emotional and so crazy, and they were like, strap in for Keeping 13, bestie. You guys were right. This is such an emotional and visceral series. Chloe Walsh's writing, she makes these characters feel so real. She makes what these characters characters go through feel so real. I feel like these are real people, and why I enjoy Chloe Walsh's writing so much after reading these two books is while we do have a really strong romance in here, it's such a beautiful love story. You also are just following Johnny and Shannon, our two main characters, through their lives and seeing their friends and seeing them develop as they go through really difficult and just absolutely terrible things. And I just love the way that she writes books. I love the way that she writes romance. I think that she just gives something extra, and I really enjoyed both of these books. I gave Binding 13 4 stars. It was a really strong book for me, but I think in the beginning it was just a little bit slow for me. But the second half of the book was really strong for me, and seeing Johnny and Shannon from the beginning of having their kind of awkward meet cute and then just going through so much together in this book was really well done, and I really enjoyed this. But then Keeping 13, it's very intense. Please check the trigger warnings for the series if you are interested in these books, because it is very intense, very visceral, as I said, and what these characters go through is so sad and so painful. But what is so beautiful about these books is Johnny and Shannon's love for one another. You feel it. It feels so real. It feels so genuine, and their friend group is so fantastic. Once again, Gibbsy is everything. I love Claire. I love Joey. I love Shannon's little brothers. I also love Johnny's parents. Oh my god. There's just so many wonderful characters in this book, and while it was very emotional to read, very uncomfortable at times, I cried multiple times while reading this book. I think it's so strong. I'm really happy with the way that things ended, and I'm really excited to continue on with the series. I also gave this book 4 stars. Very strong 4-star, but I know that 5-star feeling, and I just don't have it when I've read both of these books. But I do think that I could definitely get a 5-star out of the series because I love Chloe Walsh's writing so much, and these characters really mean the world to me. The next book that I read in April was Wild Love by Elsie Silver. So this was my #1 most anticipated contemporary romance of 2024, and it did not disappoint. I absolutely love this book. It was so good. It was a 4-star for me. This is the first book in Elsie Silver's new series, which is the Rose Hill series. So our main characters are Rosie and Ford. Ford is actually the brother of Willa, who is the main character of Heartless, which is my favorite Elsie Silver book. So I was really excited to read about Willa's brother, see what he's all about. I just really enjoyed the romance between these two. I loved that even though they did grow up together a little bit and know each other, they really got to know each other much better throughout the entirety of the story. They went through things together. They opened up to one another. They had a very playful and banter-filled relationship, which I really enjoyed. The spice was fantastic. Elsie Silver always delivers on that. I really love this small town setting, and I absolutely loved the inclusion of Ford's daughter. Her name is Cora, and she's 12 years old and just like very sassy and over it. I loved her, and seeing her just get to know everyone in the story was so beautiful. She just brought a really nice light to this book, and I thought that her interactions with Ford and with Rosie were really sweet. I had a ton of fun with this book. I'm really excited to see whatever happens next in this series, and I just love Elsie Silver so much. The next book that I read in the month of April was Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. You guys, 5 stars. 5 shiny, gold, bright, beautiful stars. Oh my god, this is a perfect romance. I cannot say a single negative thing about this book. Never could. Couldn't be me. This is absolute perfection. I did not think that Abby Jimenez was going to top Yours Truly. That is the book that she released last year. Also a 5-star. Absolutely fantastic, but she did with Just for the Summer. I went into this being like, there's no way I'm gonna like this more than Yours Truly, but I'll give it a shot. I wasn't even really like highly anticipating this book, which is wild to me because this is one of my new favorite books ever. So well done, so good. The romance development was perfect. The setting, our characters, the humor, the more serious parts were handled so well. Everything in this book really worked for me. In Just for the Summer, we are following Emma and Justin. They end up having something very interesting in common, where when both of them date someone, after they break up, that person ends up finding the love of their life. Justin posts about this on Reddit, and his post ends up going viral. Emma sees it, and she's like, I'm gonna reach out to him because the same thing happens to me, and what a weird coincidence. The two of them start talking, just like texting, and then that develops into phone calls, and then the two of them decide, hey, maybe we should date each other to try to break this curse. So that is exactly what they do. They meet up, and they're like, okay, we're gonna date, we're gonna go on like 4 dates, and then we're gonna break up, and then we will be rid of this curse. But they very quickly realize that they have feelings for one another. They don't just want to be like a stop on each other's romantic journey. They really get along, have so much in common, and become very important to each other very quickly. So we watch their romance develop, and then we also watch both of them deal with very difficult things in their lives, but I feel like they added so much to the romance and so much to how these two cared for one another. Justin's mother is going to prison, and he is going to be taking custody of his younger siblings. This is a huge adjustment for him. He has a lot of doubts about this and wants to just be the absolute best guardian for his siblings. And then we have Emma. Emma has had a very difficult relationship with her mother mother her entire life. Her mother has even lost custody of her in the past due to neglect, but now that Emma is an adult, she is trying to navigate a relationship with her mother and trying to figure out, can she have a good relationship with her? Is her mother going to change? Is she going to grow? And what does their dynamic look like now that they are both adults? The way that Emma and Justin are there for one another while they are going through their own separate things is just so beautiful. Justin is incredible. He is perfect. He is like the perfect book boyfriend, and the way that he shows so much care, so much love for Emma is truly beautiful. I think their love story is so fantastic. They are mature characters, and while we do have a lot of serious themes running throughout this book, there's also so much fun and banter and lightheartedness that I really enjoyed. I just think this book is perfect. You should pick it up. It is everything that I wanted and more. I will pick up anything that Abby Jimenez puts out in the future, and I feel so lucky to have read this. All right, and the final book that I read in the month of April, I read in one sitting. I had a 10-hour plane ride from France to Seattle, and I started this book and finished this book on the flight. And you guys, I am so excited about this because my Emily Henry curse is broken. I loved this. This was so good. It's not a 5-star, but it's a very, very strong 4-star, and honestly, I will take it. Now, if you don't know, I have struggled with Emily Henry's last 2 releases. I didn't like Book Lovers. I didn't like Happy Place. Those are both 2-star books for me, and that really broke my heart because I love Beach Read and People We Meet on Vacation. Those are 5-star romances for me. Perfection. There was a time where People We Meet on Vacation was like my favorite book of all time. I loved it so, so much. So I was very excited for Book Lovers to come out and Happy Place, but as I said, those books did not work for me. I did not enjoy them. And so I was very apprehensive about Funny Story. I think there was even a time where I was not going to pick this up. Like, I was just thinking, you know what? Maybe me and Emily Henry, we don't vibe anymore. I don't know what's going on. But my friends convinced me that I should still give it a shot and pick this up. And I am so glad because I absolutely loved this, and it just makes me really happy because I do think Emily Henry is such a talented author. And even in the books that I didn't enjoy by her, I wanted to enjoy them so badly because the Emily Henry girlies, like, we just have so much fun. And every time a new release comes out by her, it's always a very exciting time in the book community. And I'm just so happy that I enjoyed this. There was a 50-50 shot because I've given 2 of her books 5 stars, 2 of her books 2 stars, and now I've given her 5th book 4 stars. This was really great, so well written, a really, really fun couple, and I just could not put this down. I mean, literally because I was on a plane and I had nothing else to do, but I didn't want to put it down. I was here for every single page of this book, except for like one little part, which is why it's not a 5-star, but still so incredibly good. So if you don't know what Funny Story is about, our main characters are Miles and Daphne, which are 2 names that I just absolutely love, so cute. And Miles and Daphne, unfortunately, become roommates because Daphne's fiance ends up leaving her for Miles' girlfriend. So their significant others have been like lifelong best friends, but nothing romantic has ever happened between them. But in the beginning of the book, Daphne's fiance comes to her and basically says, hey, my girl best friend who I've known forever, who I've always told you don't worry about, she confessed her feelings for me. We're in love. We're gonna get married. Peace out. This, obviously, it devastates Daphne. It has completely just ruined her life. And Miles is also left in the wake of their ex's choices. So the 2 of them decide to move in together because Daphne has nowhere to go. She ended up moving to this town for her ex-fiance, so she doesn't really know too many people, and just because the 2 of them are in this very unfortunate situation together, they decide to become roommates. When they end up receiving a wedding invitation to their ex's wedding, this basically makes them spiral. Daphne ends up telling her ex that she's dating Miles, so kind of lies about having a boyfriend, and the 2 of them like kind of fake date, but they do just end up becoming friends, getting to know one another. Miles shows her around town because he wants Daphne to fall in love with the town that they live in, and not just because it was where her ex-fiance brought her, and the 2 of them slowly fall in love. I loved the relationship development between them. I really enjoyed Miles. I thought that he was such a great romance hero. He's not your typical romance hero, but I really liked that about him. I thought that it just made him stand out from a lot of other Emily Henry romance heroes. And then I really enjoyed Daphne. Daphne kind of went on a personal journey as well, where she realizes my whole life was really my fiance's life. My friends were his friends. I spent my holidays with his family. My hobbies were his hobbies. So her kind of coming to that realization and then grappling with, I need to become my own person while also falling in love with Miles. It was just so well done. I really, really liked that. She is also a children's librarian, and that was a really fun setting. It just was so wholesome and so sweet. She also gained some really amazing friends working at the library, so I really loved that. The only thing that did not work for me with this book, and why it's not a 5-star, because while I was reading this, I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be a 5-star. I'm so excited. Like, the Emily Henry curse is broken. Let's go, girls. But in the 3rd act conflict, there is an aspect of this 3rd act conflict that I don't like the way that Miles handled it. And it felt almost out of character for him because he is so amazing. Like, I am here for Miles. I love him. He is so open and communicative and such a good partner to Daphne, even just as a friend in the beginning, but as they develop feelings for one another, he's so great. great. He's always there. But the way that he handled this one thing, and I'm not going to talk about it because of spoilers, but I just didn't like the way that he handled that. I don't know, it just rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like it, and it just made my view of Miles go down like a tiny bit because I was just like, why didn't you just communicate this? Things would have been so much easier. So because of that, it wasn't quite this like perfect 5-star for me. I do really like this couple. I'm happy with the ending and all of that. But the third act conflict, it can be so hit or miss for me. And truly, if it is not done well, it can taint a book a little bit for me. Overall, I did really love this book. I loved 90% of it, but the third act conflict, I just didn't like the way it was handled. I didn't like the way it was written, and it just bummed me out a little bit. But overall, very solid book, really happy. I am so excited for Emily Henry's next release. Let's keep the ball rolling, the good vibes going. And this is a really solid book, and I'm so happy that I read it. All right, friends, so that is going to be it for my April wrap up. So if you made it to this point in the video and you wanted to let me know, go ahead and leave the lemon emoji. Is there a lemon emoji? There has to be. Yes, there is. Okay. Glad we got that figured out. So please leave a lemon emoji if you made it to this point in the video and you wanted to let me know. Please make sure that you are following me on Instagram and Goodreads. They are always linked down below. I really appreciate that you watched this video. I hope that you are having a fantastic day. I love you all so much, and I will catch you guys in the next one.